Hey, so guys, welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Baumgardner versus Persoon fight. And so if you're new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Baumgardner is 15-1 with 7 KOs and Persoon is 49-3 with 19 KOs. This fight is for the WBC and IBO World Super Featherweight titles. Baumgartner's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Leonardo 2 over a year ago, and Persoon's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Rojas. Persoon is 39 and has been pro since 2009, and Baumgartner is 30. Persoon's losses have come versus Taylor in 2020 and 2019, and Tekin in 2010. And to speak a bit more about what I've just been saying, like I say, it's the return of Alicia Baumgardner after a year out and after everything that's gone on outside the ring with her. For this fight, what I found was interesting, it's only really been listed that the WBC and IBO titles are on the line. Of course, she was the undisputed champion at Super Featherweight, so you'd imagine that all the belts would have been on the line, but of course everything that's happened with her perhaps has meant that some of the belts might be becoming vacant. I'm not really too sure what's going on with all that, and to be honest, I'm not really too sure what's been going on with the whole situation with Alicia Baumgardner. I mean, she of course got uh, accused of a drug ban. Well, she got given a drug ban, which was a year. She then got found not guilty, but not really anything was said more. She just kind of said, "Oh, she's not guilty," and not really much evidence was ever shown. But to be honest, we're kind of getting used to that in boxing right now, where there's not really much evidence getting shown with drug bans and things like that when fighters are allowed to carry on. But nonetheless, she's now seemingly no longer with Matchroom, or at least this fight isn't with Matchroom anymore. So it's not really been pushed the same way as what she is used to with her big fights, and perhaps there's not really going to be that many eyes on her. The card is, just on because it's, well, she's only kind of main event in the card because it's her manager's show, and like I say, it's interesting to see how this fight's been made, and like I say, it hasn't really been talked about much. And even in general, it is a really good fight. It just hasn't really been talked about much, and so yeah, it's interesting to see. Of course, like I say, not all the belts are on the line. It's an all women's card though, which is nice. It's the second Baumgardner all women's card in which she has partaken on before. It was the Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall one, and so it's nice to see that there is another all women's show. It's not as big as the one with Marshall and Shields, but it's still got I believe like an international title fight on, and like I say, it's nice to see all women's uh, fighters being represented on this, and so like I say, there's a lot of question marks around what's going on with Baumgartner. How is she even really allowed to be competing, and where's this fight come from, where the belts are, and everything like that. But nonetheless, I think as a matchup, it is a great matchup, and I think it's a great fight. And obviously, Bassoon has a very good record, but in recent times, she's kind of, since the losses versus Taylor, obviously she had quite a big win versus McCarlid, I believe in 2021, or I think it was 2021, out in Dubai. But other than that, she's kind of been away, just picking up wins and against lesser fighters and things like that. And so, it's nice to see her wanting to keep active, and well, relatively active. She's not been the most active, but relatively active. And now, of course, at 39 years of age, has gotten a huge opportunity for herself realistically, and I think she has got a real chance in coming and getting a win here. It's going to be interesting to see what version we see of Baumgartner coming after a year off, and if there has been drugs and things like that which have been helping Baumgartner, perhaps she might be coming into this one a bit differently. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, a lot of people have spoke about the physicality of Baumgartner in the past, and just how kind of strong she looks, and how, yeah, just in general how strong and toned she looks. But a lot of boxers are like that. A lot of boxers are able to kind of get to that level, but perhaps there has been drugs taken and things like that. We just don't really know. Like I said, there's not really been much evidence to say that this isn't the case. Like I say, we just kind of had to agree that it wasn't. But yeah, nonetheless, we see her backfighting, and I'm gonna just kind of take that as face value and not really look too much into that. And obviously, Persoon has had that kind of rivalry between Case Taylor, and which has made for two excellent fights. And I mean, maybe one day we might even see another one, but it seems like Casey Taylor, she's moved up in weight now to fight Serrano in their rematch, and of course Bassoon went to move down in weight after the second fight versus Taylor. But they were two excellent fights, and really, really kind of bring the energy and really put Bassoon on the map as a fighter. And yeah, it was a rivalry in which early on in Casey Taylor's career, I think was needed to really bring the fans for herself and to bring eyes onto herself. But to speak about them both individually as fighters, Baumgardner, of course, she is very strong, and I believe when fights get physical, if she needs to get physical, she can be in. I believe she has that power. Of course, she's not got a crazy amount of stoppages and not really got that kind of highlight reel type wins, but she has gotten a few in the past, and she is able to, like I say, really be aggressive and seem like there are power in the shots in which she's throwing. She turns into her punches really well, which was always something in which I've appreciated in her work and something I've been a fan of. She's always plants her feet very well and also goes to the body very well, digs deep, kind of digs them shots into the body and then kind of loops them straight back over onto the head. And so, yeah, that punch variety, them changing of levels, is always been something in which I've really liked seeing from Baumgartner. And it's something in which perhaps a lot of women's fighters don't always have. A lot of them do kind of throw arm punches a lot of the time, don't really fully twist into their work, similar to that of Persoon at times. But Baumgartner isn't someone who does that, and yeah, it's really nice to see. She can typically fight at a high tempo. Her last performance, I don't really think was an amazingly good performance. She had to deal with a Leonardo too, who was going to be keeping on coming forwards and was going to put on the pressure, and she didn't want to make the same mistakes in which she did in the first fight versus Leonardo too. But she did go for a couple rounds where she wasn't really keeping that high tempo in which she's used to, and she seemed to be struggling with the pacing which Leonardo, who was trying to set herself, and Persoon, as shown in them Taylor fights from a few years ago, is able to fight at a high pace and is not really going to respect her opponents and is going to want to fight at a tempo in which she wants to fight at. She's not really going to just willingly fight at an opponent's pace. Um, so Baumgartner's going to have to be. It's going to be interesting to see how fast Baumgartner's trying to start and how she's able to keep that pace throughout the fight. She can fight mid or in close range. She, like I say, changes levels well. She's very accurate in her work, and perhaps a lot more so than Persoon. She's got good timing. She's well balanced. I think that's what I kind of mean a lot of the time when she's able to turn into them punches and able to plant her feet well. That is due to just the fact that she is very well balanced. She has very good combinations, and like I say, she has that aggressive nature where she is able to dig deep. Negatives about her, I think she can get too comfortable in rounds, and perhaps might be, like I say, too relaxed at points and not be wanting to get in them exchanges when she's getting too relaxed. Typically, well, like I say, when the fight's not at her pace, she can struggle, and that's where I thought Leonardo two into the later rounds was, or mid to late rounds, was putting Baumgartner on the back foot and was just consistently throwing out punches, even if they weren't always the tidiest of punches, just to make and disrupt her tempo and her rhythm. She doesn't always circle around the ring as nicely in which I would like her to. I think perhaps she can wait too long and become a little bit hesitant, like I say, when she's not fighting at her own pace. Her chin can be in the air. She can be open to counters because often she will just stay in range perhaps a little bit too long. She can be frustrated at times. I believe she was getting a bit frustrated with Leonardo too, for just from what I saw. Like I say, under a lot of pressure, I think sometimes can get to her, and she does drop her guard at times as well. Persoon as a fighter, she is a pressure fighter. She's a bigger target than that of Leonardo too, so she has perhaps got similar attributes to an extent than to Leonardo too, but she is, like I say, a bit bigger than that, and so perhaps it's going to be a bit easier to hit. But like I say, she's a pressure fighter who will have a high work rate and will be coming forwards and probably will be relentless if it's anything. Like I say, if we're going off performances a few years ago. In recent times, there's not really been too much footage from her, but like I say, if we are looking back from them big performances when she was in front of the lights and everything like that on the cameras, and she was consistently coming forwards and always responding whenever she got hit, which she was being aggressive herself, and like I say, she could really disrupt Baumgartner's tempo. She has a high output. She, like I said, wants to disrupt rhythm and doesn't respect her opponent. She gives her all in fights. I think she's got a good chin as well. She, defensively isn't really the most sound and will walk onto shots, but I think she has got a good chin where she is able to take a punch if necessary. I think she'll just punch everywhere. Perhaps it is messy and it is sloppy, but it is just punching everywhere, and they're point scoring punches nonetheless, even if she is walking onto shots, but I just don't think necessarily the power of Baumgartner, like I say, has that one shot KO power where she can really hurt you. So I don't really necessarily think Persoon walking onto punches could be too much of a bad thing. Um, she can be physical as well, and she is used to, like I say, having that underdog mentality, and has managed to get wins, I believe, from being an underdog. I think she was against McCarley, that I might be wrong. Negatives about her, I think finding her range at times can sometimes be a problem, but Baumgartner, like I say, can make that a bit easier for you if she is stood straight in front of you. Her hand speed is a lot slower than that of Baumgartner's, which I think if Baumgartner can keep that pace and keep her hand speed and not tire too much, then she could definitely have success there. Her footwork is very poor and can be very much off balance a lot of the time. Like I say, different to that of Baumgartner. Um, she can kind of flail punches forwards a little bit at times, and that's where the technique can go, where Baumgartner has that much more technique. She can walk onto shots, she has a weak guard, chin in the air, um, accuracy is very much off, timing is very much off as well. So Baumgartner might be able to see punches come in, and if she is able to move, I think she has got better movement than that of Persoon. So if she is able to see shots coming, she might be able to maneuver out the way of them. She does stand straight on. She is messy. She's got arm punches, like I say. A lack of a jab. Her jab isn't bad when she uses it, and the straight shots aren't bad. But it's just remembering to use them and not just, like I say, being able to actually be able to land with them. She is there to be hit. I think dealing with movers herself and cutting off the ring is something in which she really struggled with against Taylor, and that's where Taylor had a lot more success on the back foot, being able to move around in which the speed she has. But Baumgartner might not be, she might be willing to go on the back foot, but she might not be moving the same way in which Taylor once was, and she can kind of lean forwards into them shots. Baumgartner is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Baumgartner will win via majority to split decision. I think it's going to be a really close fight in which Baumgartner is probably going to have the successes, maybe into the mid rounds, perhaps even into the last round. But I think Persoon is definitely going to make the fight messy. It's going to make Baumgartner work for the fight a lot. It's going to be non-stop throwing again. Just, I think the age might catch up to her, and she might get a bit too tired, where Baumgartner, who may even save her energy in certain rounds, may come good into the later rounds and then be able to have success. Using the speed in the early rounds, using the digging punches into the later rounds. If she can use that as a strategy, then that's where I think she could win. Like I say, it'll be a close fight though, but that's where she could win. But then moving on, then who she could go on to fight. I mean, Persoon again could be another option. I mean, realistically, the super featherweight division is looking quite lackluster at the moment. There ain't really many big names around in it, and so like I say, that could be an option. Or if she wants to move down in weight, then move to lightweight, then there could be an option for her to fight someone like a Ferreira. Perhaps that's an option. That would be an excellent fight, I think, realistically. Or Jonas, that could be another option. Of course, she's coming off the win versus Mayer. Bit of a controversial win, but Mayer's now going on to fight Ryan. She could fight the winner of Mayer versus Ryan if she's willing to fight at welterweight. But I think welterweight or lightweight, she'll probably have the better options of who she'll be able to fight. Just think super featherweight, there ain't really too many options. Featherweight, perhaps there is a few, but I think Baumgartner is going to be more used to the heavier weights, in my opinion, compared to that of super featherweight. So, like I say, there ain't really many options there available, but you never know who she might end up fighting next. You never know when she'll even be able to fight. We don't know if she's going to be wanting to be active now or what, and if she's even got that matchroom deal available. Like I say, there are a lot of questions surrounding her currently. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.